Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Ashwini Kumar from International School of Business and Media, Pune. Today we are going to talk on the module Censorship, Women and Films under the paper Women, Media and Films. This unit is designed to introduce you to the idea of censorship, its historical background and how the subject of women in films and censorship needs to be addressed. After having studied this unit, you should be able to understand the concept of censorship and its history, censorship of films, freedom of art, and the question of public morality. The debate revolving around objectification of women in films, women-centric themes, controversies surrounding women-centric films through some case studies. Let's start this censorship. Censorship is an issue that has always divided opinions in its favor or against. Before we take sides, it is essential to understand the essence of censorship and how historically censorship has been used in various contexts. It is also important to be aware how censorship in films work. Is there objectification on women? Is there objectification of women? Why censorship has been imposed on some women-centric films? Why they appear to be sensitive to their cause? The answer need to be explored. All these questions will be dealt in this unit, enriching your understanding of the subject. The idea of censorship. Oxford Dictionary defines censorship as the suppression or prohibition of any part of books, films, news, etc. that are considered obscene, politically unacceptable, or a threat to security. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, censorship is suppression or prohibition of writing that is considered subversive of the common good. Philip Steele, in his book Censorship, observes that it is an attempt to limit or prevent the free exchange of information. Therefore, censorship is limiting access to information and ideas transmitted visually, verbally, or in print in the interest of common good and in accordance with law. The historical background of the censorship. We have tried to understand the idea of censorship and why it is imposed. Now, we will try to learn about its historical background. The word censorship is derived from the Latin word censor. The office of the censor was established in ancient Rome in 1443 BC. Censors were initially given to the charge of taking census, but with time they gained more powerful to regulate the morals of those citizens whom they have counted. In ancient times, the concept of freedom of the individual was secondary to prosperity of the community. It was in the Renaissance period that the concept of censorship was questioned. In the wake of greater awareness about individual thought and action. In ancient Greece, Athenian philosopher Socrates was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock for corrupting the youth of city of Athens and undermining religion. He questioned the political and religious beliefs of his time. Earlier, to Rome and Greece, in the dynasties of China and Egypt, censorship was prevalent. Ancient world was witness to one of the worst form of censorship during the reign of Quincy Huangdi, when he ordered destruction of all books of Chinese history prior to his accession to the throne. In early modern Europe, one of the major cases of individual censorship was that of Galileo, who accepted the theory propounded by Nicolaus Copernicus that the sun and not the earth is the center of solar system. Galileo was sentenced to life imprisonment and was forced to renounce his belief before death. In the years 1643 and 1644, two important events in the relation of censorship occurred in Great Britain. In 1643, during the reign of Charles I, Parliament began to enforce a decree of 1637 which required all published work to be registered with a stationers' company and approval of either the Archbishop of Canterbury or Bishop of London before publication. In 1644, John Milton wrote Areopagitica, which put forward a strong argument against pre-publication. Censorship. One of the major institutions of censorship in the 19th century was Russia's Foreign Censor Board. Its main job was to monitor all foreign matters that entered the country. The Ottoman Empire was also witness to autocratic censorship during the rule of Abdulhamid. In a bid to modernize the society, he muzzled free speech and free press through a network of secret police. Now let's talk about censorship in India. We have learned about historical background to censorship across the globe. Now let's concentrate on our country. In ancient India, what the government or the kings did, the various laws, actions and achievements formed the basis of all kinds of information. The ruler made his will known to the people through edicts and proclamations. In a system where there were successive rulers, there is always a chance for censorship of ideas, which the rulers didn't like. Nevertheless, there was a liberal thought propagating by ancient Indian philosophy and freedom of expression that was manifested through art and literature. Historians have found reference to the office of the censor during Gupta period. With the coming of East India Company and the events that unfolded, there was growth of a formalized press system in India. Soon after its growth, censorship was put forward through a number of regulations. Lord Wellesley, who wanted to see himself as the dominant ruler of India, felt a strict supervision of the press is necessary. Stringent rules of censorship were established in 1799, and the editor of Bengal Kirkaru, Charles Maclean, was deported to England on filmfare charges. During the reign of Lord Hastings, slight modifications were made regarding the stringent regulation, and in 1818 he abolished the post of censor. However, fresh regulations were issued in the same year as to what is expected from the press by the rulers. Successive regulations followed in the year 1823, 1857, 1867 and 1878. This regulation imposed censorship on the dissemination of ideas, particularly by the vernacular press of the country. The journey of censorship did not end there, as the Newspaper Act 1908 and the Indian Press Act 1910 were passed to safeguard the interest of the rulers and to curb the free speech. As the struggle for independence gained further momentum in the country and the British government became jittery, the Indian Press Act 1931 and Foreign Relations Act 1932 were clamped on the press. The former was enacted to take action against publication which incited or encouraged murder or violence. The objective of latter was to penalize publication which interfered with the maintenance of good relation between His Majesty's government and friendly foreign states. In 1933, four ordinances were passed to widen the ambit of powers to act against publication, which published matter in support of civil disobedience movement. After the country gained independence, a better atmosphere of free thinking was anticipated. The Government of India promised to introduce a press bill which was free from objectionable features of Indian press of the Indian Press Act of 1931. It came up with the Press Act 1951. This new law was directed against encouragement of violence or sabotage or publication of scurrilous matter. There was no provision of any pre-censorship and no action was to be taken against a newspaper unless it actually misused its freedom. However, the inclusion of public order among the restriction enabled the government to meet the challenge thrown upon by some newspapers. On the week of stiff resistance of press bodies of both honest and working journalists, it was finally repealed in 1957. Though freedom of press was not enshrined in our constitution, but Article 19(1) guarantees freedom of speech and expression as a fundamental right to every citizen of India. This is, however, subject to some reasonable restrictions which have been mentioned in Article 19(2). The restrictions apply to sovereignty and integrity of India, security of country, friendly relation with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, contempt of code, defamation and incitement of an offence. The reasonable restrictions have been cited in a number of cases to justify censorship or one form to another. The judiciary has come as a savior in most of the cases and has conscientiously guarded this vital freedom. The country was subjected to vigorous censorship during the internal emergency from June 1975 to March 1977. The Prevention of Publication of Objectionable Matter Act 1976 was enacted to give maximum effect to the imposition of censorship. Now let's talk about censorship of films. Now that we have got an idea about how censorship has been applied across the world and in India, it is time to consider films and how censorship is related to the medium. You must have come across instances that a movie has been censored from screening or portion scene has been censored before its release. You must be inquisitive to know why that happens. Starting from the inception of this medium, different interest groups have tried to draw parameters as to what can be shown on screen and what cannot. According to Oxford Dictionary of Film Studies, in its most conventional and limited uses, censorship referred to the act of censoring film conducted by official boards of censor, usually endorsed by the state and or the film industry. While in continental countries, film censorship has been more political in nature. In US and Britain, it has been anti-sexual and puritanical in nature. In 1922, Hollywood founded the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America organization in the wake of moral outrage regarding sex scandals involving film actors. It came up with a production code from 1930 and 1934 onwards. The code was strictly enforced. As a set of guidelines was laid down. In Britain, self-censorship by the British Board of Film Censors started in 1912. Until 1951, British films were rated U, that means universal, A. adult, and H. horrific. The certificate H was issued to movies which were prohibited to children under 16 to protect them from exposure to extreme violence. In 1951, a sex was more projected in films. In 1951, as sex was more projected in films, H has replaced with X. Cinema in India from the very beginning has been political issue, and the colonial masters were wary of nationalist aspirations, revolutionary thoughts and aspiration for democracy. Censorship in this country was used as an imperial policy to control exhibition of Indian and foreign productions. Cinema was feared because its combined impact of oral and visual presentation of political themes could be enlightened for a colonialized people. The Cinematograph Act of 1918 was enacted to formally establish film censorship in India. It required all films to be certified as suitable for public exhibition. During British rule, there was independent regional censors, a process that was done away with after independence. They were all unified under Bombay Board of Film Censors. With the implementation of Cinematograph Act 1952, the board came to be known as Central Board of Film Censors. The cinematograph rules were revised in 1983, and from then on it has been renamed as Central Board of Film Certification. The post-colonial state adopted not only the institution of colonial censorship but also its concerns and anxieties. Various reports sponsored by government agencies justified censorship on the grounds that is necessary for public protection. Now let's talk about the issues of public morality. The issues of public morality looms large over a number of films, and this forms an important basis for censorship. We tend to consider some values to be intrinsic to society and accordingly judge the moral standards. While there can be a strong case for public morality being undermined by useless item numbers inserted out of context in recent Bollywood movies, with lewd lyrics and most objectionable portrayal of women, some movies can be on the receiving end of censor board for dealing with a bold theme. Some films tend to show women as only objects of entertainment. There is little of aesthetics and more commerce in that. However, as discussed earlier, public morality can be used as a veil to impose censorship in a bid to suppress dissent or truth. Let's talk about the freedom of art versus censorship for public taste. When we discuss about censorship, we also have to discuss the freedom of any art medium to express ideas. As artists contribute to social debates by bringing counters discourses to existing ideas and power centers, that vitally of artistic creativity is essential for development of vibrant cultures and functioning of democratic societies. Artistic expression are integral to cultural life and entails contesting meanings and revisiting culturally inherited ideas and meanings. Expressions, whether artistic or not, always remain protected under the right of freedom of expression. Freedom of expression is the basis of any creative medium. We know by now how government envisions censorship necessary for public protection. This is at times essential given to proliferation of harmful content. Showing something on a screen which deeply hurts public taste can invoke criticism. Public taste is developed over time and needs to be nurtured. However, taste changes and regulation should be accommodative of the changes. If we study Indian movies historically, we can feel a change of attitude in respect to censorship. Films have started exploring with controversial topics and getting the nod of censor board. Now let's talk about censorship and women. Portrayal of women in films and the ensuing censorship has always hogged limelight in debates and discussions. Many are of the opinion that women have been essentially projected in the manner that men have wanted them to see on a screen. The male gaze has been criticized by feminist scholars. Brinda Bose states that most of the demands of censorship regarding sex and sexuality are focused on women. Their vulgar representation are questioned, with very little attention paid to how the control of women's speech, bodies, action are instigated and sustained by age patriarchies. There are movies that imply that men should do some things whereas women should do others. The basis of such notions are often sexist constructs of what the nature of men and women really. The image of woman has been issued, among other things, as expected. She compels the gaze. There may be a male camera and an inflict male viewer to whom the spectacle of woman is presented. The problem of male camera catering to a male viewer is a problem that film industries across the world face. Commerce is a big determinant in this, as some say, please give to the viewers what they want to see. They justify the gratification of the male fantasy and give little or no space for women to have their say as to what they want to see and how they want to see themselves projected on a screen. On a positive note, though, there are increasing number of female film directors who see things from a woman's perspective. In the next section, let us brainstorm on another controversial issue: objectification of women's body. Many scholars think that women's body has been presented in a manner that has entertainment value. Objectification of female body gives strength to arguments in favor of censorship. Monica Mehta observes while discussing about the film Satyam Shivam Sundaram. In this sexual cornucopia, spectators were granted the rare sight of young females as desiring subjects. If we turn towards Hollywood, objectification has been more intense, though there have been phases where women have been treated almost as per with men. The movies of 20s, 30s and 40s, though having stereotypical limitations, did project independent females. However, in the early 50s and a considerable time that followed, women were representative of male fantasy. Stars like Marilyn Monroe and Doris Day were epitome of objectification. In the 80s, the new women's movie genre brought some fresh air as women were projected in their own world, liberated. The ideal way to look at women is a censorship debate. The way a society treats its women go a long way to determine its maturity. How a group of people looks at women can differ between cultures. Nevertheless, there are some norms which all adhere to, like ensuring that women get equal respect in their workplace, household, and there is acceptance of their persona and intellect. Films can somewhat influence the way we look at women. Are they merely on screen to give a sense of relaxation and entertainment, or are they there to give different dimensions to life and times? The image of women is often stereotyped from male perspective. Censorship becomes relevant here and leads to more complexities. We know there is something wrong somewhere, but can censorship put it right? There are portions censored in movies which are felt to corrupt public taste. Those censored sections are soon available in some video sharing website or in the nearest video parlor. Government agencies can engage in dialogue with filmmakers to ensure that they adhere to stronger self-regulations. More sensitive representation of women is essential, but censorship to achieve that end will lead to debate. Women-centric themes and censorship. Women's Picture, a subgenre of melodrama emerging from Hollywood, has a plot that features feminine themes and is organized around the point of view of female character. Feminist cinema, a diverse body of non-commercial, low-budget amateurs or independent film launched in Europe and North America in late 1960s in the wake of second wave feminism in the West that adopted feminist standpoints and campaigned on women's issues. Movies with women-centric themes tend to explore topics which can be bold in the present social setup. They question the patriarchal fabric and the inequality they are subjected to most of the time. The problem of censorship arises when the subject of a film is considered to be disturbing. There have been movies that have dealt with serious lesbian relationship and have landed in trouble. There is also movies that have been censored for freely putting forward women's sexuality and her way of looking at the world. I am curious, a movie produced in 1967 quoted censorship after it depicted the life of Lena, a teenager who was exploring her sexual identity and women's rights. Blue is the warmest color. An acclaimed 2013 movie also faced ban and limited releases because of its lesbian love story. There are some others like Persepolis who had to face censorship woes. Exploring women-centric themes in Indian cinema. When we talk of films in our country, you will surely feel good at the latest splurge in women-centric movies. In the recent years, there have been films like Queen, Mardani, Mary Kom, Gulab Gang, which revolve around women-centric plot. However, films with women-centric themes have been in Bollywood from earlier times. Mother India, Andhi, Bhumika, Earth, Mirch Masala, Matrbhumi, A Nation Without Women and Door to name a few. Outside the realm of Bollywood, New Wave parallel cinema tried to project the complications of modern life and its influence on women. The women's issues were put forward by some female directors, most notably Aparna Sen, Kalpana Lazmi and Deepa Mehta. They have addressed the issues from a woman's perspective. However, the women directors have not found huge success. Most of their work has been funded by the West, or they have worked in some regional cinema industries. There have been problems of censorship with movies which have kept up controversial issues. Some of these we are going to deal with in the case studies. Censorship issues, let's talk about some case studies. Bandit Queen. This movie was based on the life of Fulan Devi, a dreaded criminal turned politician who had faced sexual abuse from men at a younger age and finally formed her own criminal gang to garner respect. This movie was too bold for a censor board to handle at that time because of its sexual content, abusive language, and nudity. The main theme of the movie got overshadowed in this vulgarity, controversy, and it faced censorship. However, while questioning the reason behind such censorship, we have to take into account some interesting developments also. On September 6, 1994, Fulan Devi herself moved the Delhi High Court asking for a ban on the screening of this movie. The verse that was presented was based on Mala Sen's book and may not be an authentic version as was admitted by producers himself. Fire. Deepa Mehta's film, though getting a lot of critical acclaim abroad, faced censorship in India. There was portrayal of a lesbian relationship between two sister-in-laws in a Hindu family in India. This escape from loveless marriages had a serious representation on screen. It was objectionable for a section of the audience in India who strongly voiced their opinion in favor of a ban. On a positive note, India has moved forward from the time when this movie was released in 1996, though there are issues regarding movies with similar themes. But with passing time, censorship norms are gradually getting simpler. Water. Water, another movie from Deepa Mehta, explored the flight of windows in an ashram in India during 1938, when philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi were making waves in the nation. The condition of widows were sensitively depicted. Their yearning of love and a life beyond social restriction after being dumped as outcasts raised questions about the prevailing social customs. The censorship stemmed from certain groups complaining of religious sentiments being hurt. The situation was volatile and the movie sets were burned. It can be argued that the impending threat to life and property and sense of distrust towards the motive behind the film might have influenced the censorship that followed. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. A section of critics feel that censorship is a forceful way to kill freedom of expression. Others opine that some sort of censorship is necessary to preserve the basic values. We have talked at length how the position of women in any society is delicate and they deserve respect and equality. While there is a need to understand their viewpoint on issues, the meaningless insertion of portion in a movie to project women as an object of entertainment needs to be curbed. This, however, is ideally done by the filmmakers themselves, using their good sense and not imposed from top. There is a great need for female film directors who can treat issues from a female standpoint. Encouraging such initiative will go a long way to correct the present scenario. There have been a number of movies in various countries of the world as well as in India where censorship has been imposed after the content infuriated one section or the other. A greater sanitization on issues can help. The cry for censorship involving women, their dressing, the way they are presented on screen can tone down when the society comes out of its patriarchal cell and treat women equal to men. As the country makes progress, views regarding censorship should also change. Censorship, though, might apply in remote cases when meaningless depiction of women for male visual pleasure becomes deliberate. Thank you.